everyone, this is Cindy from The Holistic View. As I was going through the series called The Truth About Cancer, I noticed a little clip in it with Suzanne Somer, and she was saying what her experience was with her breast cancer and how she looks at sugar as a substance that feeds the cancer. So if ever she's tempted to get ice cream, she'll basically tell herself, as if she's speaking to the cancer, I'm not going to feed you with sugar. But just seeing her and how she tied in with that little clip, I actually wanted to look at her other videos because she looks so good. I was always a huge fan, but I didn't realize that she was such a women's health advocate. One of the things that she really advocates is bioidentical hormones, especially for women, but men too, who are going through like andropause. Basically, it's the equivalent of menopause, but for men, when their testosterone levels are on a decline and different hormones are sort of declining, how do you balance your hormones? So these hormones are molecularly identical to our body's hormones. That's what it means. Bioidentical means molecularly identical. So your body already knows what to do with it. Synthetic hormones are made from horse's urine, and the molecular shape is different. They actually can stimulate our hormone receptors, which can make them a little bit overstimulated because they bind closely in place with the human estrogen and progesterone receptors, which may cause them to become highly stimulating and carcinogenic. In particular, synthetic progestins have the ability to convert estrogens into more potent estrogens and also into toxic estrogen metabolites, which increases the risk of breast cancer. Bioidentical progesterone, on the other hand, has the opposite effect, in which it converts potent estrogens into less toxic metabolites. So I'll include the links below to these studies and also links that detail what are the side effects to taking synthetic hormones. Of course, always talk to your doctor before beginning any protocol. So as I was reading up on this, I couldn't help but become even more curious as to what clinics in Montreal provide this type of therapy for myself and also for my peers. A lot of my friends were starting to get perimenopausal symptoms, and a lot of them have started on HRT, hormone replacement therapy with synthetic hormones, and getting the side effects and wanting to know what other options there were. So last year I did an interview with naturopath Nicole Reilkoff. She offers this consultation at her clinic, and so I was really happy to be able to discuss this a little more with her and to share it with you. Check out this video. You've mentioned bioidentical hormones, and actually that is a personal interest of mine. So I'm in my mid-40s, and I have friends that are in my age group, peers, that are going kind of through the same sort of perimenopausal phase, where you feel, there's hair loss, there's maybe a lower energy, certain, the belly fat. And I'm a huge fan of Suzanne Somer. I followed her for many years. I have several of her books, and I love what she has to offer for women's health. I even bought her organic cosmetics, and she has a wonderful line. So I'm just plugging for her, but I'm not making any commission off of this. But I really admire for everything she's done. And she's a huge believer of bioidentical hormones, and so is Alan, her husband, and she's talked to Oprah, and there's celebrities that have taken it, and Oprah even had described it as a veil that had lifted over her when she had started on bioidentical hormones. And surprisingly, when I Googled bioidentical hormones in Montreal, I only found 2 clinics that came up, and it was very limited information, and so I want to find out more about this, and also why do you think that bioidentical hormones is not provided more, publicly or prevalently?
In part because bioidentical hormones are compounded for the individual. It's not a pharmaceutical drug that is given in an exact dosage. So when it's made to suit the individual. So that's one major component. It is something that's required with a prescription. You would have to take that to a compounding lab for them to fill that prescription. So that's really one of the reasons. And I think also because, again, not a lot of people know about it. A lot of doctors aren't aware, and that's okay. That's okay. Not everybody can be a specialist in everything. So it's about simply looking for those who are potentially informed, talking to them, informing. So that can be integral to get that process moving. It's a really fantastic thing that can be utilized as a tool to balance and regulate hormones.
And how does it compare to synthetic hormones?
Generally speaking, there's less risk because it's bioidentical to what your body produces. So that's one component. And also the amounts are usually adjusted, whereas synthetic, generally you'll get the amount and you can have it or segment it to a certain amount. But aside from that, it's a direct
Dosage.
Exactly.
Okay.
Whereas with the creams and the other ways to work with bioidentical hormones are much more easily flexible.
Okay.
And so then you would work with your pharmacist, you would work with your nurse, and you would work through testing to see how those levels are adjusting over time.
Okay. Can you walk me through the process? Like if I was interested, I come to you and I'm telling you all my symptoms, what are the process of actually getting on those bioidentical hormones?
Generally, so if we did a test here and we saw, okay, look, there's a major deficiency.
So that would be a blood test. So
Generally, if you're testing with your doctor, that would be a blood test, which tests for the bound hormones in your system. Whereas doing the test here, it's done by saliva. So the saliva test allows for the testing of the free, unbound hormones circulating through your system. So that shows the potential of what the body is capable of producing rather than what's exactly produced in the body. So they're both giving exact information, but from slightly different angles. So that's kind of how that works. With looking at that, looking at the results, interpreting that in terms of age, lifestyle, habits, stressors, a lot can really, really play on our hormonal system. So it can be from the natural process of life, and it can also result, disturbances can also result from, say, eating disorders. So those are factors to look at that can really disrupt and a person who potentially could really benefit from bioidentical hormones. So with that, they would come and see me, I would do the test, we would go over the results, and I would refer them to a clinic basically to go over the tests and then have a protocol made for them with the prescription in which they would have their doctor or gynecologist sign to get that process started, and then they can have that prescription filled.
And that clinic, is it a lab? Or what type of clinic?
It's the Westmount Wellness Clinic, so that can be looked up online, and you can put the link for that.
And it would be a nurse that would look into that?
It's a nurse that...
Actually, I think that was one of the links that when I Googled it, I think that was one of the two that came up.
Yeah, exactly, because it's still quite, exactly like you said, not well known, and because of the amount of work that goes into compounding someone's bioidentical hormones, it's really specific. So it's not something that can be done at just any pharmacy. There's certain protocols that have to be done in order to make that product, because again, it's not a standardized medication that's just given.
I'm very interested in it, and I find that because it's a complex procedure and it's tailor-made, I don't think that should be a reason to not advertise and promote it more. I feel like there's still some controversial underlying reasons. Do you feel that? Because when I look at all the interviews in the past with Suzanne Somer, she's constantly battling with doctors, the mainstream doctors, and trying to convince them to do studies, and it seems like it's not as accepted still.
Well, in part because, I mean, on one hand, it's extremely accepted within certain circles. There's no doubt about it.
Even in conventional medicine?
A lot of times, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the more awareness that is coming forth. The issue when it comes to certain celebrities is because you're dealing with someone who has gained their prestige through their acting careers, through their modeling, and so forth. And while they have something to say that's worthwhile and important to be told, they're still having to deal with being based or judged upon who they are and their past as a history or their where they're coming from.
Right.
as opposed to somebody who has distinctly studied that in school and they're coming forth as not so much a personality but as an authority figure.
Right.
So there's a bit of a clash there, and one of the bigger issues that I find is a lot of the pitting of sides against sides. So one of the main books that presented about bioidentical hormones is What Your Doctor May Not Tell You.
Okay.
You know, things
Right.
like that. So
Yes.
it's as though there's some sort of
Yes.
secret hidden agenda. And it's that kind of fear mongering that I try to really take out of the picture, because it doesn't add, it doesn't help anybody.
Right.
And so it's about really being able to look at the facts, look at the person, look at the situation, and then work from there.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, is it more funded? Is the pharmaceutical hormones more funded, and therefore there's more incentive basically to use that in the conventional medical community?
It's a great question. Intuitively, I would say yes. Theoretically, or it makes sense. Practically, I don't know exactly all the specifics there of that. That's not so much my domain.
Sure. If you could share a link of information for those of us who want to understand more about bioidentical hormones and the benefits versus the the side effects of taking synthetic hormones, would you be able to send me some information?
I'll do my best. Yeah.
Okay. I'll do my best too. I'll do my best to post some studies and. Okay,
absolutely.
Great. That would
It does
be
matter.
wonderful for people who are going, aging, and they want to age gracefully, and they want to have still their brain and wits and awareness about them and their energy. Obviously, there's not just one element. There's like a holistic and multifactorial contributions to it.
And although, like any medication too, it needs to be taken very carefully and with a lot of respect. For somebody applying bioidentical hormones, and if they've applied it and they haven't washed their hands, so then if they go to shake somebody else's hand, those hormones will actually be transmitted. So it's very, very interesting, because that is made to be absorbed into the skin. It is fat soluble. It is something that the skin will take in and allow to circulate through. So there's certain elements that need to be looked at and be respected.
Okay, that's good to know.
Hey, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and please share your comments below if you've had any experiences with bio or synthetic hormonal replacement therapy, because I would love to know what were the pros and cons, what were the challenges, and if you have any tips on how you managed menopause by balancing hormones and how you've managed those symptoms. It'd be great to share this information with our community. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to hear more videos on health and nutrition.